This is actually the second one in our series of women professionals serving and working with and for the criminal justice system. So we're really very fortunate here at Southern New Hampshire University Global to have a very, very healthy roster of people like Professor Michelle Burkhardt, who is graciously giving up some of her free time to share her tips, advice, counsel, background story to help other women, etc., learn from this particular episode so they can, you know, realize their dreams and their goals. I'm Dr. Jeff Sarnik, Associate Dean here at Department of Criminal Justice, Social Sciences, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Professor Dr. Michelle Burkhardt and tell us a little bit about your background, and thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. It is an honor. Um, I started out pretty close out of high school, and it wasn't something that I knew I wanted to do when I was little or anything like that. I was kind of more geared towards, I had thought, we tossed about between two different areas, administrative assistant, and the other one was child psychology and working with abused children. So then I decided to do a ride along with an officer in the city of Lansing, Michigan, and I got bit by the bug just immediately. So I did that for about 2 years. I would go on as many ride alongs as they tolerate me without being a nuisance. Because many officers do not like ride alongs. It really depends in personalities and things like that. So um, I did that for a couple years, and then I was going to school and being a mom, a young mom. Then um, I applied to work in the jail as a detention officer. I was hired. I did that for, oh, it must have been about 3 years or so. And then I was very, very fortunate working for the department and a Hispanic female. They sponsored me through the police academy. So I was really lucky that I did not have to. And back then it was a lot cheaper than it is now. Now it's police academies are getting insanely expensive.
Wow.
So
Okay.
they
Yeah.
sponsored me through the academy. Um, I worked the road and got assigned back to the jail. I worked in the jail for 9 years and then spent my last 15 years back on road patrol.
Right.
And I also did, while I was in the jail, I worked part time for another department for 5 years.
Wow.
And yeah, so and then I went on to pursue advanced education. I did my bachelor's degree in health services administration and my master's in public health, specializing in epidemiology, and then my PhD in
Oh, okay.
organizational leadership. And here I am.
That is a better than great story. And but I know there's probably a lot of stories in between that, what you did to develop yourself and
Yeah.
create the excellence that you are today. PhD with all this tremendous authentic experience. But during the course of that time, you know, as a woman through the lens of being a woman in a male dominated field, what did you have to overcome? What did you do to survive and become successful?
My family, I had very strong support system. So I was so lucky in that aspect. Um, because when I first hired in the jail, that was 1988. So I
Oh,
did
okay.
ride-alongs prior to that. So we're still talking women entering a male-dominated field. And so
Right.
I will be very honest, there were some hard days, but I came home to a very strong family and they're like, "You're gonna get through this. You're strong." So they, we had a lot of conversation. Can't say that I didn't shed a tear or two.
Right. right.
But I'm human. Um, but then what's that saying? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger,
Yeah,
and so you get
right,
through it.
right.
Training officers, and then I had some great ones. I can't say that, they were all bad. I had some
No, exactly
amazing
right. Yeah, it
training
doesn't mean
officers
it's right. It's always
who really
negative.
had my back,
Right,
really
right.
had my back. And to this day, I thank them, and they're such a blessing that they really stuck up and went to bat for me.
Okay, that's excellent. Um, a woman contemplating, or say one of our students who's going to watch this, and they're really seriously considering following the same footsteps, the same path. What advice and counsel would you give them to help prepare them for that beyond their academic journey?
Ideally, it's I think a really good idea to have as much of your academics done as possible so you can focus on
Oh, okay.
the field work and your training versus having to um, be a mom and a wife and a student and a trainee. So if at all possible, that would be my huge recommendation is to, when you're going to the academy, you got to focus and you got to get your
Right.
rest and study, and it's really all in. So, but rely on your family, your friends, their
Okay.
advice. Surround yourself with great people,
Right.
and you get through it.
Right. So, what when you're in the academy? Oh, let me just ask you this. And I lost my train of thought only because I have so many questions for you that I could take 3 days because this is great stuff. Women do bring a lot of traits, skill sets, and characteristics to the profession, to public safety, et cetera, that men don't or can't by virtue of design or wherever it may be. And one of the things that I've heard, and I really stick to this, is that women have a special sense of intuition. They're very intuitive. So, what are some of those traits and characteristics that you can, let's say, highlight for women who are watching this and considering a career or immersed in a career, maybe? What is it about what you bring to the table that really complements the profession, really supports, the problem solving, that sort of thing?
Both men and women are compassionate.
Right.
Um, I don't want to say men aren't, because they're just as, compassionate as females, and that um, do absolutely firmly believe in intuition and gut feelings. And if you get those, go with it,
Okay.
because
Right.
99.9% you're right. Um, that, yeah, that's a good one, because you got to rely on, especially in police work, you got to rely
Right.
on your gut feeling and your
Right.
intuition, your training. You always revert back to your training. So yeah, but just go with your gut feeling.
All right. I've heard it said once before that women do make better investigators, and the best analogy that I heard was that, and I told this to my wife, who laughed when I say, I can't find the mayonnaise. Look behind the pickle jar. That for some reason men like to go straight forward into something, but women have a more of a tendency to stop and assess before charging in with a battle cry.
Think about it, maybe overanalyze it, and I tend to do that myself. I overanalyze things and think too much, and so that's my downfall. But
Or it's an upfall as
it
opposed to a
could be.
downfall. It can contribute quite nicely. So you're in a rough job. What are some of the physical requirements that the women have to be prepared for on top of everything else?
That's the one thing, I kinda do regret as I got older, and after having kids, in all
Right,
honesty, getting out
right.
of shape and not eating right. Make sure you're eating right, getting your sleep, exercising, stay in that routine after the academy, because that
Hmm.
that is the one thing that I do regret, because, with all the equipment, the gun belt, the,
Right.
bulletproof vest, you're still adding more pounds to your existing weight. And as I got older and the criminals were getting younger and younger,
Yeah. Right.
and so that was interesting. That was an eye-opening experience going, oh my God, I'm not like in the shape that I was when I went. That's the best shape you'll ever be in is
Yes.
when you
Yeah.
go through the academy. And then as you get older and that, but there's some women who just don't even look like they've had kids and they're still so thin. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
wasn't one of those.
Right. Right. Yeah. Everyone is a bit different, but yeah, to be prepared because you work. I'm sure you work midnights and 4 to 12 and different shifts and
Yes.
overtime,
All
and
the
it's
shift work and the stuff you
right.
miss with your family
Right.
and there's
Right.
sacrifices, but
Yes.
it's also very rewarding.
Right. So in academia, where you are fully immersed as one of our prized and cherished professors in the criminal justice program here, what do you look for in your students? And in particular, what do you look for in the women students, relative to what they should be developing, what they need to be good at, what they should be excelling at?
Well, I try to provide my students and and I sometimes second guess myself whether I'm providing too much information, because I send out a lot of announcements and
Right.
very detailed, and I highlight and I bold, placing emphasis on the things that I want them to remember.
Right.
And this is what you need to know. And if you know this stuff and you're going to get through this just fine. Um, and it made me think about it because I actually did have a student this term tell me that I send out too many announcements.
Oh, is that right?
And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's only one person ever so far
Right.
that has
Right.
said that. But I still think about it
Yeah.
and analyze it and then overanalyze it and think, okay, so then like the last couple weeks, I started condensing things more into one announcement versus several. So I kind of I took it to heart and I thought about it and you know try different things and see
Right.
what works and see what your students
Okay.
want and what
Right.
your students like.
Right.
Um,
Right.
because for me, I'm here for the students and I
Yes.
want, and I've said that, I said, I want my students to be successful
Right.
and go on and just have amazing careers and life and all that kind of stuff.
All I can say that it's best if for nothing else, they become just like you. You are an excellent role model. And that's why one of the reasons I said when I restarted this series, I said, I'm going to grab Dr. Michelle Burkhardt because I know she has it
Oh,
because of what you do and what you bring to the classroom and your background is beyond exceptional. And our students, and
thank
I'm not just
you.
saying this because you're here, our students, they're full of angst, they're full of anxiety, et cetera. It's a very scary situation to be by yourself in a classroom and it's text only. There's a lot of things going on. But those skills, and I can see these because I'm a retired police officer too, et cetera, but I can see the skill sets that you developed as a caregiver, a helper, a problem solver, right, et cetera, and augmenting that with higher education. What you bring to the classroom, okay, is worth more than anyone could ever pay you. Those are traits, skills, characteristics that you model exceptionally well. So for the students that are watching this, please listen to what she's had to say. Press rewind if you have to, and Dr. Michelle, if any of the students have any questions from you, is it okay they connect with you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
So,
just send me an email. I love to talk.
yeah, well, you're great at it. And so there's a message to everyone that Dr. Burkhardt is willing to entertain any questions, career guidance, advice, or counsel that you may need. That's how we roll here at Southern New Hampshire University. We try to leverage the fantastic talent that we have, for the sake of the student. And it's beyond a noble and honorable. So, Dr. Michelle, thank you for taking out this valuable time out of your evening to convey all these pearls of wisdom and advice and counsel and the modeling and the role modeling that you project all the time. So thank you for that. So with that said,
Okay.
I'll stop the recording. Everyone, thank you for that, and I will um, send this out with Dr. Burkhardt's email address if you have any follow-up questions, etc. Thank you again, Doctor. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much, sir.